That basketball game last night, baby. Dude, Suns up 2-0 right now?
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's unfortunate for the series' sake because it'd be nice if it went 7. It'd be nice if the Bucks would have won, make it a little more interesting series.
Yeah.
Not saying it's not going to be interesting for the next few games, but there's a little bit of a buzzkill to it right now.
Hey, you know who's hype right now? Your boy Manuel Molina. He put up here again, Suns in 4, baby, let's go. And he added Matt. Matt, he coming at your neck, baby. Seeing Steven saying Suns in 5. A lot of people say, Mad 513 says Suns sweep it. So this is my thing. I don't think the Suns are going to sweep. I do think that they'll win it. I don't think they'll sweep, though.
I don't either.
To me, like when I still look at the Suns and their shooting, right? What they had, 23s they made yesterday?
Yeah.
We said in the first game, the reason why I didn't think that they would win that second one, or I didn't think they would sweep, I just didn't think that they could shoot that good again. And now obviously Giannis looked even better, right? He went for, it 40 and 12 or something like that?
42.
42 and 12. But the flip side was, when you look at guys like Middleton, didn't really show up the same way. Drew Holiday, he played well in spurts, but as a whole didn't.
He was terrible in the first half.
Right,
like I don't know if it's complete. Like it seemed like he was getting unlucky, but he was also he was terrible.
Yeah, and then obviously people were getting on Budenholzer and the lack of adjustments a little bit once again, because I felt like initially he had a cool plan, but once you saw that it's not going to work, you got to change, you got to make some adjustments, and that's another thing that Budenholzer was struggling with. But to me, the only reason why I still, like I said, I don't think the Suns are going to sweep them. Devin Booker and Chris Paul, they're playing at a crazy high level. Even when Devin is off a little bit, he's still finding ways to just score, even going to the mid-range, right? The lost art. Everybody does it. I thought it was only 3-pointers, right? Shout out to the anti-analytics crew out here, man.
Yeah.
But seeing those guys play like that, and that was even with DeAndre Ayton having a quote-unquote bad game, I still don't think that they're going to be able to give me that again, like, you know what I'm saying? Like with both of those guys being on to that extent, while having Chris Middleton be off, while having Drew Holiday be off, while, you know what I mean? I just don't see them being able to do that again. I think that when it goes back to Milwaukee, this is probably the game where the Bucks do get this first win.
The thing about Paul and Booker, though, you trust them way more than Middleton and Drew Holiday. I don't know
for a fact. Yeah.
We've seen them go back and forth a little bit. Drew Holiday's had a much worse postseason overall. Middleton's been a little bit more up and down, where he's had some really nice highs.
Yeah.
Drew's hit some shots here and there.
Middleton had some really good moments too.
Sure.
Really good moments.
But I don't trust those dudes to necessarily just get back for next game.
Yeah.
They could be in this slump for next game, and I wouldn't be surprised. They could bounce back, and I wouldn't be surprised either. With Booker and Paul, they're at least going to give you a certain level of play.
True.
Where the Suns are going to be in it.
Like even if Chris Paul isn't hitting his shot, he still facilitates and creates points. If Devin Booker isn't hitting the 3, well, he can still get to the line and he's going to cash out. He can still find a way to get to the mid-range and get buckets. So without a doubt, that's the part that's interesting. Now, I want to see what DeAndre Ayton does, though. Because this is another reason why when we talked about it a little bit last podcast, when we were just saying sometimes you get these lucky matchups, right? This guy's injured, that guy's injured. When you was like, yo, is DeAndre in the top 5 center or something like that, right? And we're just saying, well, man, you catch this guy, if they're injured, you don't get to face them. You can dominate the rest of that series. So what happened in this series in game 1 versus game 2? Game 1, DeAndre played really well against Giannis, right? Defensively, he held his own. He wasn't dominant, but he held his own. Offensively, was aggressive. His energy looked good. And you saw him put up a nice game, right? We was over here like, you even said it yourself, top 5 center. What does he do game 2? And this was the point that I was getting at. Giannis responded. Giannis
looks healthy.
Giannis said, okay, you got buckets. They talked about you. You supposedly slowed me down and all this stuff. Giannis went right at him from the beginning of this game all the way to the end. And your boy, he turned it down. We could all agree. He did not match that energy at all. He had the double-double to 10 and 11. It was quiet, though. And to me, that's why I can't just say he's a top-tier guy just yet, because how do you match up for 7 games like this? You can do it in that first game, cool. Or you might do it against a team where their star is injured. But let me see 7 games where this dude is a dog and he's coming back at you. We haven't seen that from him just yet. And yesterday was not a good look for him. So I want to see in this third game how he responds as well, man.
To that point, though, Giannis just really stepping up.
He did, bro.
What sucks about it, though, I think this is just who Giannis is, though. And this is why he's probably never going to be looked at like LeBron James or KD. I don't even know if you want to throw Kawhi Leonard in there, but I think like his all-time status is probably always going to be capped where he may never reach past the top 15 or maybe the top 12. Just because late in games or shooting threes, shooting the deep shot, especially in today's NBA, and shooting free throws.
Dude,
as much as he was just dominating this game and had a really big game, like really impressive. It was a historic game. Man. Like missing those free throws, missing some of these shots, it kills the vibe a little bit sometimes.
It takes the air out of you when you see him airball from the free throw line. It takes the air out of you when you see him miss.
Because those are shots, it's like we should be coming back. Like these should be easy points now, so we're closing the gap.
When he misses, bro, it's like terrible misses, man. Like that's the part for me. And think about this, right? For Giannis from the free throw line, he probably would have said he did great. He missed 7 free throws.
Yeah.
7. That's a ton of free throws in the NBA. But for Giannis, because he's so bad from the line, we're like, yo, he actually did all right from the line. And that includes air ball. Like, that's the part for me where when I see Giannis, I think, which I agree with you, man, it's always going to feel a little weird with him, man, because like you said, man, you can't hit free throws. You miss badly from 3-point. And it just seems also that when it's time to have one of those, gotta have it, I need to pull up and hit a jumper. He is just not there.
It's just not his game.
Right. And you see he has to defer to Middleton in some of those situations. But then it's like with Middleton, is it streaky and hot Middleton? Or is it Middleton that showed up last night? And when you get that, and that's with number 2 like him, because we all said that he's a great number 2. He's just not a number 1. That's kind of what you deal with players like him, man.
You're saying Giannis isn't a number 1?
No, I said Middleton. So I said, so what I was saying was when Giannis can't get that jumper, right? He can't hit that 3. He has to defer to Middleton because Middleton can create and can still shoot the shot. But if you're not getting the streaky hot Middleton and you get the Middleton that showed up last night, you get the performance like last night where Giannis goes crazy. But when it's time to have it, you never feel like he's going to be able to do enough to close it, to close that gap, man.
Yeah, because you think about Shaq. Like, he had Kobe for the championships. He had D-Wade for the championship down in Miami.
Yeah.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, whenever he's winning all those championships with the Lakers. Magic Johnson. I'm trying to think of other big men. Hakeem Olajuwon, I don't know what their roster construction was completely. Like, he was the main guy. But I'm sure we're talking about, like, the 2, 3, 4 guys. Yeah. At least they were making shots when they needed it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Now, let's see, because... Let's see, where is it? Oh, so Juicebox. Yeah, Juicebox, he has said that he thinks that this offseason, Giannis needs to focus on his jumper and also focus on defending the best guy every game. Do you think that would get him in that conversation of LeBron James and Kevin Durant as well?
I'd say free throws first because those are free points.
Okay.
Because he could, dude, he just put up 40-something and only hit 1 3-pointer yesterday.
Dude, you know, the funny thing was he joined a list of like literally 4 other players that have scored 40 plus points, 10 plus rebounds, and lost in a finals game. You know who else has done it, right?
LeBron was one of them.
And actually, it wasn't just a finals game. No, it was a finals.
Was it finals or playoff?
They might have said playoffs, but I want to say it was finals, though, if I remember correctly, because LeBron was 3
of them?
Yeah, it was 3 guys.
LeBron was one of them for sure. I don't remember the other 2.
KD was the other one. Yeah, they said with KD, LeBron, Giannis, and I'm drawing a blank on the 4th. The 4th was an older guy, though.
Okay.
Yeah, but those were the guys, though. And I was like, yo, that's nuts. But to me, when I think of Giannis in those scenarios versus those other guys, it always just feels different when you think of, all right, these guys can still come out and hit jumpers and late in the game. So even if they're not getting to the rack, they're still able to be a factor. We know it's certain defense you could play versus Giannis where they pack the paint and he becomes irrelevant. We saw Brooklyn use it. We've seen plenty of teams use it. And that's the part where I just feel like he's always going to come up short in that conversation. Now, going back
because he's borderline unstoppable when he's driving the lane. Like, you have to foul him.
Absolutely. But the problem now is he doesn't hit. It's kind of like the Shaq when you play Shaq, right? The hack of Shaq. I mean, they're not doing that to the full extent, but anytime he gets in the paint, you see they're content with just fouling him instead of allowing him to, get these layups and easy dunks off. But what I wanted to ask you, though, going back to the free throws, now Trina's still Diva 5. She brought up this. She says she thinks that the counting at the free throw line is still throwing Giannis off.
It might be.
But now this is the thing that I wanted to get your thoughts on, and y'all in the chat as well. Giannis said in the interview post-game after game 1, he said that the counting doesn't bother him. He said, in fact, it kind of goes away and he's just going up there and just relaxing and shooting. He did say early on, though, like in that Brooklyn series, he said it definitely bothered him. He was like, yo, I would hear the count, I would think about it, and it would mess me up. But he was like, now it's kind of just noise. He says that, but I still don't necessarily believe it. But maybe he just doesn't shoot. I think he's just not a good free throw.
That's what I mean. If anything, there has been a little bit of an improvement, but that doesn't say too much. That doesn't mean too much.
I was gonna say he doesn't look scared to shoot him now. Because remember we said with him and Ben Simmons, we said at times like they were both just scared to even go to the ball to even get fouled. More so Ben than Giannis. But now at least Giannis is still playing aggressive, and he doesn't like wear it on his face as bad now. So that is a plus. But that's something he got to get better at, man. It's just crazy to think.
Yeah, because that's 7 free points right there. I get if you miss 1 or 2, but
the thing also, like, think about how it changes the dynamic. Like, if I'm playing you,
even Luka was doing that in his playoffs too. Like, it kills the vibe a little bit. It does, because man. Like those are free points. Those are points that you should be hitting so you could close the gap and build the momentum for your team.
Either close the gap or increase your lead. Now, something else that was talked about today as well was and Matt McKissick, trust me, we gonna get you, baby. We that for certain is getting talked about today. So those that don't know,
he mentioned my name.
Yes, Matt McKissick says that Tannenbaum wants to bench Ben for Deke this season. Shout out to that. But trust me, we gonna get to that. That's coming up soon. All right, we ain't there just yet though, but it's coming soon. But yeah, man, we might have to. Deke, how you throwing on me? Is it good? Keep that thing loose. Like remember the little Cam Newton commercial? I'm just warming up on, baby. So just warm your thing up, man. You already got the beer growing in, but we're gonna get to that in a little bit. Matt. But going back to excuse me. Oh man, that just made me lose my train of thought. I was laughing at that too much.
We're talking about Giannis.
Oh yeah. All right.
People are talking about the free throws a little bit.
Yeah.
Jumpers. What could he work on in the off season? Anything coming back to you?
No. But what I was saying, to me, I was just saying it was just still funny to me that for him to be as dominant as he is, but to still see him struggle that much from the free throw line, like, it's just crazy to me at times, man. I just, like, you typically don't see a guy that's able to dominate the game like how he dominates it, but still not be able to be a little bit more consistent from the line. But now I do remember what I wanted to ask you, though.
Okay.
So this narrative was brought up last night after they started showing some of the clips of Giannis trying to motivate his teammates, right? Did you see it where he's like, oh, come on. And obviously, PJ Tucker isn't paying attention. Drew hits him with it. Yeah. And he's like, yo, he ain't really vibing with him. So they were just basically saying, do you think Giannis is that like leader of that team, or do you need a legit like motivator, alpha type dog, like how Chris Paul is, right? You see when Chris Paul speaks, like all of those guys listen. Obviously, we know when LeBron does it. KD is another guy, right? Draymond isn't the best player on that team, but we know he gets those guys motivated. He gets them going. It's not like Steph does his thing, but Draymond is the heart and soul, right? So with Giannis, do you think he's capable of being that, or do you think they need to have another guy in there?
No, I think he is. I think what hurts him is his game, just because he can't naturally close out these games for the team.
Yeah.
So that hurts him a little bit. But also, I don't think with Chris Paul, I think we would have said he's a leader throughout most of his career, especially when he went to the Clippers. But we start seeing some of those collapses, and then when he goes to Houston, or people necessarily calling him this great leader, then I think they were talking about Harden tuning him out and stuff.
But no, in Houston, though, he got a lot of love because he was about to lead them to the championship. Remember that. They had that 73-9, or the 73-9 Golden State team on the ropes as well, and then he got hurt. So I thought that year people were just pointing to more so how him and Harden were able to coexist, and ultimately, because they were saying how Harden's ball dominant and obviously Chris Paul's ball dominant, how would those two play off? But they were saying with Chris Paul out there, it did kind of work out like that.
I feel like it's the outcome, though, because if they win that game, you're looking back on that and saying, like, oh, man, Giannis is just really into it. You're not as much paying attention to what the other players' reactions are. What I liked about it is just he's showing he cares. Now, how the players respond, that's a different thing.
Yeah, he does care. I just don't think he can motivate them. That's the thing that I'm trying to figure out. Like, it's certain times in a game where you got to have it, and you need your guys to rally around you.
I know. That's what I mean. I think the game really part of it is the tough. Like, Giannis isn't able to translate the talk necessarily to the game, whereas, like, LeBron's like, hey, stay here with me. Like, you could see him start carrying you in the fourth.
He'll go out here and hit 2-3 jumpers.
Kobe, D Wade in his prime.
Hit him a three. Yeah,
there's certain players that could do that. Yeah. Like, a great comparison for Giannis is Shaq. Like, different personalities, but like, is Shaq the one motivating the team like that?
Because Shaq was the dominant dude. Like, you knew Shaq don't have to hit free throws. He's still gonna drop 50. He gonna give you 50.
But was he? That's what I mean. Was he talking to his team like that? I feel like Kobe was probably the guy in the huddle,
I'm trying to think.
I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there.
Because for me, when I think of Kobe and the championship, I think of him with Paul Gasol and how he was leading those guys. I don't remember him as the because I remember obviously they had Fisher as well. Fisher was a leader on that team.
Sure.
I'm thinking and Robert Ory and all those. I'm just I don't remember Kobe being, because Kobe was young. Kobe was young then.
Yeah, but he would still get on Shaq being overweight and not practicing. That's what I mean. I don't think Shaq was this big vocal leader and
you might be
telling people,
that,
hey, we got to do this, do that. He was just amazing.
I just don't remember. Now, what I was going to say, and to this is you, not this is to you, but for Molina, Manuel Molina, he says, if you need motivation, get off the court. Not necessarily disagreeing with that, but what I am saying is
do you trust your guy?
In terms of, it's something about momentum, right? We all can agree that momentum is a real thing. Momentum comes from you motivating these guys, though. And you can motivate them and create that momentum by you creating the spark. Think about Big Ben, right? He doesn't have to come out here and give us this long speech. But if he comes out here and he hits a couple of daggers, we're all motivated by that. I didn't need any extra motivation, but it gave me that extra boost. And then that ultimately does carry over and helps you out. So that's the only thing with that. I don't think that Giannis needs to be the guy rallying the troops all the time. But I do think in a moment how it was last night where they're kind of on that cusp of 6 points, 8 points, 7 points. And man, if we could just get these guys to rally, if I can get the guy who probably isn't the best on the team, but if I can just give him enough to make him confident enough to hit that one shot that I might need, that's what we're talking about. And for Giannis, it just doesn't seem like he's able to have that same type of impact. And typically with your superstars, like how he is, typically that does follow suit. Like when KD gets hot, like we said, we start seeing everybody hit shots. When Bron gets going, you start seeing everybody get going. But right now with Giannis, we really haven't seen that consistently just yet.
That's an interesting point because he's still balled out. That's the thing. I don't know if that type of play, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it should inspire, but I think there's something to been there, done that.
Oh, they sick.
What happened? Well, because you got to think, LeBron's been there, Steph's been there.
I'm laughing at you, Richard, just so you can know I'm laughing at you.
KD, I think those are the guys you would trust. Like, if you haven't been there, maybe there's something to CP3 just because he's been in the league so long. He's been there, done that, and you saw the impact he's made immediately on teams. And my point I was making earlier, I think people start getting sour on him for some reason after a long time, like with the Clippers and then Houston in that second year.
Well, I know they did say this has changed for him now, but I know early on when he was with the Clippers, when he was with Houston as well, they say he was definitely more of a tyrant style leader versus now they say he's softened up a little bit. Whereas obviously, for example, when we talk about the tyrant style, LeBron is the complete opposite, right? They get on LeBron because they say he's too friendly. Whereas with Chris Paul, they were saying that he was, being I'm trying to think, what was it? Rhymes with stick, but begins with the letter D. So yeah, in fact, it's French for Deke's nickname. But that's what they would say he would act like towards, his teammates. And that's a big reason why they said that they would sour on him after a year of that, because that's not fun at all. But now they say he's a lot more understanding to the guys. He's a lot more empathetic to them.
That's what I mean.
Being more, I don't know if it's because he's older now.
I do think a big part of that's what he did with OKC, though. For people to see what he did last year, that was supposed to be the worst team in the league, and they got the 5th or 6th seed, almost won the first round. I think that's a big changing thing for now. The Suns see Chris Paul, they're like, oh, he did that with that team last year.
Nobody expected him to do anything in Phoenix either. We were all looking like, oh, I guess Phoenix gonna be bad, and then they got him the 1 seed.
Yeah, because they were hot at the end of the bubble. No one really knew if that was real, but then I think we knew they were gonna at least make the playoffs. But to go on this run, it has been impressive, and everyone's bought into Chris Paul.
Yeah.
So with Giannis, it's tough. I think the game is part of it, but also. If somehow he won the finals, then I'm sure his voice carries a different weight like next season. I just like that he cares.
Yeah.
That's my main thing. If he wants to become a better leader, I guess the main thing would be to improve your free throws next year. And like they're saying, and improve your long range game. Because if people start seeing that, like, all right, he's bought in, and then he can start doing this.
When he hit that 3 in the 4th, we were all kind of like, yo, if he could do that again,
sure,
that changes stuff.
And when he hits them, they look good.
Right. It's either a beautiful make or a horrendous miss. He's no in between. That's It's like he puts his whole hand wrapped around. Have you seen him when he it's weird, bro.
I'd rather have what Giannis was doing than what we've seen from James Harden sometimes.
See, I think with James though, it's more fatigue related. Whereas I think with Giannis it's just skill. I think with James, because when he was in Houston, he would do it by himself for so long during the regular season. He's burnt out by the time you get to a 7-game series. And in a 7-game series, it's a lot harder because guys get familiar. They can study you and figure out, okay, if this is what he does well, we're going to make him do everything else but this. And when you're tired at the end of it, man, and you're going against some good teams, it would always catch up to him. And I think that was the thing that hurt him more. Whereas with Giannis, it just looks like a lack of skill right there. I don't think it's a fatigue thing. I think it's just skill. Whereas with Ben, it's more mental. Because we've all seen the videos. I mean, he can hit, he can shoot.
Yeah.
In practice, it's just different when it's game time.
Maybe a little bit with Harden, like attitude though too.
Oh yeah, definitely that. Yeah.
The one that sticks out to me, remember they were down like 25 or 30 points to the Clippers, then he sat on the bench and like didn't even care, and like they came back.
Yes.
Like that's a bad look.
Yes. That's not. It reminded me of like the Pippen look.
Like I could never see Giannis doing that. Like there's no way in hell.
I agree.
Like if he was benched for some reason, he'd be rooting his team on.
Yeah. But Giannis mentally just seems in a different place than those guys too. I don't know why. Like I know some people have brought up with him playing, overseas and stuff like that, and the same
him just
Luka,
being more
right?
like happy to be here. In a
whereas
way.
like here in America, a lot more you see the attitudes and see how like ultra competitive guys are, and a lot more prideful as well. Not necessarily with the on court, but just I'm not wrong, or if you bench me, like, well, I'm not going to do anything for you. Then like we don't really see that with Giannis. So
yeah. That's a good point to bring up, though.
Man. So what you got for
because people were talking about it earlier today.
So before we get up out of here, then, well, not out of here, but before we transition to the next topic, what do you have winning tomorrow?
I don't like what I'm seeing from Drew and Middleton. I really don't. I don't think I could trust them. Now they're at home. But it's one of those things. I feel like the Suns are playing with house money. I'm going to pick the Suns.
You going with the Suns? All right.
I don't think they're going to sweep. They might, though. I don't know.
If they win game 3, I think they're sweeping, bro.
I'm going to pick the Suns just because I don't trust Middleton or Drew.
All right.
I hope the Bucks win. I hope the series goes 7 and it goes to like triple overtime.
John Doe says the Bucks going to need that crowd to get it done. Eli 421 thinks the Bucks take game 3. Man, let me see. Manuel still saying Suns in 4. Let me see if anyone else has a prediction for game 3 before I get mine. Oh. Because you said you're going Suns.
I'm picking the Suns, yeah.
Everything in my heart tells me Suns, but I'm just playing law of averages here. And I'm like, This has to be the one that they win.
Yeah.
I don't feel like this is going to be any other one. This has to be it.
It has to be the one. Yeah, you're right.
Mr. Pitt still for life. Suns in 4. That's what you seem to me. Jacob, Suns in 6. Sharman, Suns in 5. I'm seeing a lot of Suns. Frank K. If Drew Holiday goes off, the Bucks will win. Do you feel like Drew is going to go off, though?
I don't. I have no faith in him.
I'm more confident in Middleton bouncing back than I am in Drew right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I'm not very confident in Middleton either.
I'm not
right
confident
now,
in that either.
Sense.
That's what I mean. I just think the Suns, we know what we're going to get from those guys.
Caleb says Bucks take game 3. John Doe, I'm with you, though. If they lose, it's a sweep. And Trina Still Diva says Bucks game 3. If they don't win, it's a sweep. Steven Carpenter says Bucks in 7. Whoa.
I'd love that. I'd love the turnaround. I'd like this to go 7.
Oh, man. All right, let me think. Right.
You got to even think with the Suns, man. Just their whole roster. You know what they're doing. Like, Cam Johnson's going to hit a couple threes.
Team ball over there, man.
Bridges, he had a nice game, but he's going to get you something in the teens. He's a nice player.
Jay Crowder, he got a quiet 11. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
A quiet, just, all right. And he hit that mean pull-up at the end, too, in the 4th. That was clutch.
Yeah.
Off the CP3 pass. Oh, do you think Booker is going to get cold? Because Manuel says that Booker is going to need to get ice cold for this to take place, for the Bucks to win.
He might, but I just trust him and Chris Paul over Middleton and Drew.
You know what? I'm agreeing with all of y'all, man. I'm going with the Suns getting it done in 3. Suns going to get game 3, man. Suns will get game 3.